Hello everyone, I am the storyteller, and tonight I am here just to help you relax, to drift off to sleep by the sound of the waves, like the whispers of old souls. I know you have come to this video not just to hear the story, but also to find a deep, peaceful sleep. But before we begin, please gently like the video and subscribe to the channel so I can continue to tell you strange stories under the dim moonlight. Where are you from? And what time is it where you live? Just relax. Let your body relax. Put all your worries down by your pillow. Let me take you into a world of mysteries where the wind and the waves mingle and unsolved mysteries are waiting to be told. Are you ready? Delta 928, Captain David Starnes. Morning, Pete. How are you doing today? Co-pilot, Peter Markley. Oh, I'm good. Just glad I made it on time. Traffic was a bitch this morning. How are you, Captain? Starnes. Feeling just fine. Once I fly this turn, I have the next 3 days off, and me and Jenny are going out to Sedona to play some golf and enjoy the spa at the Hilton. Markley. Sounds nice. I'm on for the next 4 days at least. Starnes. Hey, do me a favor. I have to call home real quick. Ask Marcy to bring up some coffee for us, and then we can start with the pre-flight routine. We're scheduled to be nose up in about 20. Markley. Will do, Captain. Pause. Hey, Marcy, can you please bring up 2 cups of coffee? Muffled response. Thanks. Get one for yourself, too. It's on me. Starnes. Hey, Jenny. I just wanted to let you know that I didn't have time to get the laundry into the dryer. The washer was still running when I had to leave. Just wanted to let you know. I'll call you when we touch down in Chicago. Love you. Markley. Well, ain't that sweet. Senior Flight Attendant Marcy Nichols. Here you are, gentlemen. Can I get you anything else? Starnes. Thanks. I'm good. Markley. Same here. Thanks, Marcy. How are we looking back there? Nichols. We're almost ready. Just a few more passengers getting settled. We should be able to do the final cabin walkthrough in the next 5 to 10 minutes. Markley. Sounds good. We'll be right here waiting for your thumbs up. Nichols. Be back soon. Dead air for 32 seconds, with the exception of a brief cough. Starnes. All right, let's check it down. Auxiliary fuel pump. Markley. Off. Starnes. Flight controls. Markley. Free and correct. Starnes. Instruments and radios. Markley. Checked and set. Starnes. Landing gear position lighting. Markley. Checked. Markley. Altimeter. Starnes. Set. Markley. Directional gyro. Starnes. Set. Markley. Fuel gauges. Starnes. Checked. Markley. Trim. Markley. Set. Starnes. Magnetos. Markley. Checked. Starnes. Engine idle. Markley. Checked. Starnes. Flaps. Markley. In position. Starnes. Seat belts. Shoulder harnesses. Markley. Fasten. Starnes. Parking brake. Markley. Off. Starnes. All right. We are good to go. 24 seconds of dead air. Markley. You heard the latest on Kendall? Starnes. What a mess. It wasn't just alcohol, you know. He tested positive for cocaine too, and they found some in his suitcase. Markley. I heard his wife left him after Delta shit-canned him. What the hell happened to that guy? Starnes. Who can say? Kendall was a solid pilot and a good enough guy most of the time, but he definitely has a short fuse, and he likes to drink. I saw him deck a guy in the bar at the Sheraton in Atlanta one night over something that was really nothing at all. I kept my distance from him after that. I wasn't really too surprised when everything blew up that day, to be honest. Seems like he's just in a tailspin now. He was in jail until just a couple of days ago. Out on bail now, I heard. Markley. Yeah. I feel bad, though. He seemed like a decent guy to me, but I couldn't let him take off that morning. He literally stumbled into the cockpit reeking of booze, slurred speech. He fell asleep about a minute after he took a seat. Miranda was the senior flight crew member that day, and she noticed it right away. Starnes, you did the right thing. I wouldn't give it a second thought. Markley. Yeah, I know. I just feel bad for the guy. Starnes. Don't. Not your problem. How are we looking back there? Markley. Marcy's walking this way now. They look like they're all settled in. Nichols. Okay, guys, we are all set. Markley. Thanks, Marcy. Ready for takeoff. Starnes over cabin intercom. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome aboard Delta Airlines Flight 928 from Phoenix to Chicago O'Hare. Our flight time today should be 3 hours and 22 minutes. The weather looks good the whole way, so it should be a smooth flight, but we will notify you if we expect any turbulence. Your flight crew members will be coming through the cabin with an assortment of snacks and beverages once we level off. We'd like to thank you for flying Delta Airlines. We are third for takeoff, and we should be in the air shortly. Sound of jet thrusters increasing and decreasing for next 6 minutes and 14 seconds. Muffled dialogue between pilot and co-pilot. PHX Tower. Air Traffic Controller, Mike Reynolds, over radio. Delta 928, you are clear for takeoff. Sound of increased volume of jet thrust for next 12 minutes and 35 seconds. Starnes. All right, we are up and running. Activating autopilot. Dead air for next 2 minutes and 43 seconds. Reynolds, over radio. Delta 928. Please adjust your altitude to 32,500 feet. Markley, copy. Descending to 32,500 feet. Dead air for next 2 minutes and 32 seconds. Markley. How's that course at the Sedona Hilton? I've played a few of those courses out there, but not that one. Starnes. Ah, you know. They're all kind of the same. Pretty wide open. The greens are usually pretty fast though, so that can hurt you. It's nice though. Well maintained. Markley. I gotta get out there next time. Haven't played much this year. I'm scared to find out where my handicap really is right now. At least an 18. Starnes, chuckling. I brought in a 78 with 4 birdies at Sun Valley last week. Markley. Nice shooting. You gotta teach me how to keep it in the fairway. My drives are all over the place, I swear. Dead air for next 54 seconds. Starnes. This is my 3rd turn in the last 24 hours. All right with you, if I catch a little shut-eye for a while? Markley. No problem, Captain. I'll rouse you back up if necessary. Starnes. Thanks, Pete. Dead air for next 54 minutes and 22 seconds. Sound of knocking on cabin door. Sound of door opening. Nichols. Gasping and speaking quietly. I'm so sorry. He made me open the door. He has a knife. Former Delta Airlines pilot, Marcus Kendall. Enough. You've done your part. Just give me all those little whiskey bottles and get back there and keep everything cool. If I hear one sound near that cabin door, everyone is going to regret it quickly. Remember, if I kill these two, then I'm the only one left to land this plane. Overlapped with sounds of motion, as well as inaudible comments from Starnes and Markley, followed by the closing of the cockpit door. Starnes. Marcus. What the fuck? What is this? Kendall. This has nothing to do with you, Dave. I'm here to see Pete. Here. Take this, though. Sounds of a struggle followed by painful gasps, cries, and heavy breathing for next 18 seconds from Starnes. Shouting from Markley. Markley. Jesus, Kendall. What the hell are you doing? Stop. Kendall. You better get back into that co-pilot seat before you get hurt, Pete. I think we both know how a fight between me and you would end, even if I didn't have this knife. And Delta suspended the federal flight deck program 3 months ago after that incident in Salt Lake City, so I know you don't have a gun in this cockpit. Besides, I'm here to speak with you. This doesn't involve Dave. He was an asshole anyway. I need this seat. Sounds of seatbelt unclicking, followed by a thud. Kendall. Shit. Look at all the blood in this seat. Give me your jacket. I gotta wipe this up a little. Markley. How did you even get on this flight? How did you get a knife on board? Kendall. I worked for this airline for 17 years, Pete. You don't think I know how to get around? You don't think I know some people who will help me out if I hand them 500 cash? Baggage handlers make shit for pay, you know? It's a pretty thankless job. Those guys aren't exactly rocket scientists. Dead air for next 16 seconds. Markley. Christ, Marcus. What are you doing? Kendall. I came to talk to you, Pete, about what you did, and don't even think about triggering that handset. God help me. If I hear a 7,500 squawk come out of your mouth, I'm gonna cut off your right thumb. Don't test me. Look at Dave down there. You think I'm fucking around? Markley. I won't. I swear I won't. Kendall. Good. This won't take long here. Looks like we will be over Denver in just a few minutes. Markley. Why Denver? Are you gonna land us at DIA? Kendall. Not exactly, but close. We'll get to that. First, let me ask you something. You are a licensed and qualified pilot with plenty of experience flying the Boeing 737, yes? Markley. Yeah, sure. Not as much as you, but yeah. Kendall. So, on that morning when you called security to come into the cockpit to wake me up and drag me away, leading to me ending up in jail and losing my job along with my wife and 2 kids, you could have just covered for me, right? Markley. Hey, you know the airline's policies. Plus the flight crew already knew you were in no condition to fly. If they call security before I do, then I'm in it with you. Kendall. Yeah, so you just decided to ruin my life instead of taking that chance. That's what I thought. You are a little pussy, Pete. Do you know that? I bet you've been a little pussy for your whole life. Markley. Marcus, we're losing altitude fast. We are well below 20,000 feet, and we are way off our flight path. Dead air for next 22 seconds. Automated voice from instrument panel. Warning. Altitude. Warning. Altitude. 15,000 feet. Markley. Marcus, we need to pull up right away. Dead air for next 14 seconds. Kendall. You know what, Pete? I don't really care what you have to say. I just wanted to be here with you for the end. I was originally planning to fly us straight into one of those high sheer cliffs up in the Rockies, but then I came up with a better plan. Automated voice from instrument panel. Warning. Altitude. Warning. Altitude. 12,000 feet. DIA tower, air traffic controller. Miles Cordry, Delta 928. We are showing you coming towards downtown Denver and descending below 10,000 feet. Are you in distress? Do you need us to clear a runway for you at DIA? Kendall, kill that speaker. Automated voice from instrument panel. Warning. Altitude. Warning. Altitude. 8,000 feet. Kendall, I know you can't kill that one. Anyway, rather than just pushing us into a mountain face, I decided it would be more fun to do this. Sound of increased wind shear, muffled screaming coming from the cabin. Automated voice from instrument panel. Warning! Altitude! Warning! Altitude! 6,000 feet. Markley. Jesus, Kendall. Please pull up on that stick. We are almost nose down, and we won't be able to pull out of this dive if you don't do it now. Please, don't do this. Automated voice from instrument panel. Warning. Altitude. Warning. Altitude. 5,000 feet. Kendall. You see that down there, Pete? You see that? I timed it pretty damn good, didn't I? That's downtown Denver right there. I don't know if I should target one of those tall buildings or try to put us down on a busy street. I guess I'll just have to play it as a last-minute decision. You got a preference? Markley. Dear God, Marcus, no. Automated voice from instrument panel. Warning. Altitude. Warning. Altitude. 3,000 feet. Kendall. I was considering it, and I just thought it would be better to put us down here rather than up there in the mountains. This way, there will be some good collateral damage and lots of great fiery video reels for the news. People love watching other people die in horrific ways when they watch the news, you know. That's basically what they tune in for, mostly, Pete. Let's give the people what they want today. Markley. Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with thee, and blessed are. Automated voice from instrument panel. Warning. Altitude. Warning. Altitude. 2,000 feet. Kendall, over cabin intercom. People, you might want to buckle up and return your seats to the upright position. We will be making an unscheduled landing in downtown Denver in about 30 seconds, and I think it's going to be a rough one. Markley. And blessed? Blessed are thou among, gasp, women, and blessed is the fruit of. Automated voice from instrument panel. Warning. Altitude. Warning. Altitude. 1,000 feet. Kendall. Open your eyes, Pete. Open your eyes. You don't want to miss this. Look at all those cars and people down there. We are going to be front page news. Here we go. Here we go, Pete. Count it down with me. Come on now. 3, 2, 1. Kaala. The de Havilland. Twin Otter charter plane shuddered through gray clouds as its mouthy pilot wrestled with the controls, navigating toward the barely visible landing strip ahead. Like the plane's humming engines, the bearded Inuit's mouth hadn't stopped buzzing since we'd taken off from Iqaluit 3 hours before, and my tolerance for both noises had grown slim. Happily, the end of this ordeal was in sight. The small hamlet, Mitimatalik, known as Pond Inlet, which we were rocking and tilting down towards. From this vantage point, and in this dawn greeting, sleet-spitting weather, the village at the northernmost tip of Baffin Island appeared little more than a shadowy cluster of shacks dwarfed by glaciers in the distance. It looked every bit the town at the end of the world it was, and exactly the kind of place you'd find someone like her. I'm just saying, the pilot continued, having received approval to land. I get it, the dating world's tough. But coming all the way to Metallic for a woman? All she wants is a ticket out of this dump. No amount of hot flesh on a cold night is worth being taken for a ride. I forced another smile, though my lips were resistant, watching the landing strip lights glow brighter. Like I said, she's got a wonderful personality, I said, for the 15th time. You don't have to worry. Not everyone's a scammer, spoken like a love-struck fool with more money than sense. The pilot laughed. Well, I hope it goes okay. At least you've got your return flight booked. I'll be back tomorrow, same time. But if you're not here, with or without your girl, I'll be gone. No refunds. I nodded, staring out at the endless expanse of snow that had become visible as dawn broke. Calling it dawn at 10 to noon seemed wrong, but that's what it was this time of year, during Nunavut's polar night, when the sun barely rose above the horizon, and daylight, more twilight, didn't last long. A 1 to 2 hour period of faint light that quickly retreated to darkness. It suited me fine because it suited Kaala, December 5th. The body of 35-year-old Naki Pakta is discovered in Rankin Inlet, Kivalik, having bled out from multiple stab wounds. The nature of the injuries is baffling. The star-shaped structure of the wounds suggests they were inflicted from within. No murder weapon is found. No persons of interest are identified. Naki is found in a remote area outside the town, half buried in a mat of Arctic heather. Kaala wasn't my online girlfriend, or the catfish the pilot suspected. That was a convenient lie. This time tomorrow, he'd either laugh at me or pat me on the back, depending on how things went. Both eventualities were covered. The plane convulsed as we landed, tires skidding briefly before finding their grip. Then we came to a halt at the terminal, a corrugated outhouse set against a dull, hazy backdrop. Here we are, he said, grinning through his beard. Good luck with your woman. You'll need it. I thanked him and disembarked with backpack and camera. The biting cold stabbed me, but I didn't flinch. I inhaled sharply, the icy air burning my lungs, and made my way deeper into the ghost-like outpost of swirling snowflakes, the most remote place I'd ever come to meet a subject. Beyond the airstrip, the snow-covered streets of Metallic were deserted. Dim street lamps illuminated squat, weather-beaten buildings, wide-eyed structures that seemed to huddle together to keep warm and endure the endless night, which had introduced insomnia, sleep paralysis, and nightmares to their eaves. December 10th. Aputi Kanuk, 38, is discovered in his pickup in Whale Cove. The insides of the cab are painted red. Police are baffled. The Inuit sports hundreds of wounds, pinpricks that seem to have punctured the flesh from within. There is nothing untoward in the vehicle, just some strands of heather in the footwell. I passed residences with lights glowing in windows, stores hibernating like frost-covered monuments, and vehicles remade as ice sculptures. I didn't pass people, even though it was midday and as bright as it was going to be for another 24 hours. Nobody was getting their steps in. But that's not to say no one was out. As the snowfall grew thicker and I approached a junction in the road, laughter reached my ears from my destination, Ukpik Tavern, where, according to Sigil, the woman I was seeking should be. A few more steps, and it materialized. A nondescript bar that doubled as a restaurant, dull light spilling through the window. A wooden sign above the door creaked as I pushed through. Inside, I took a moment to shake off the cold and the snow before making my way to a table. The bar was decorated simply, with wooden tables and chairs, and a fireplace burning thick logs. A handful of locals were seated, meeting friends for lunch during this nighttime reprieve. They eyed me with mild suspicion as I came in. I made a show of checking my camera and placing it on the table like it was sacred. They looked away. Just another rich tourist or hipster blogger come to photograph the northern lights. Boring. A barman with a ducktail beard that somehow looked better than mine sauntered over as I shrugged off my parka. He informed me the bar was closing at 1:30, an hour and a bit from now. He noted my Nikon and the guidebook for neighboring Bylot Island I'd placed on the table. He didn't ask why I was here. I ordered beer and a bowl of caribou stew, then settled down to warm myself and wait. I didn't have to wait long. She came out of the men's room, carrying a mop and bucket, head high as she went behind the bar. The information I'd received had been correct. Not that I doubted it. Sigil was always correct. And though she looked older than 40 and heavier than 180 pounds, she was recognizable as the person who'd been described. Her face was weather-beaten. Strands of gray threaded her braided hair, and the birthmark on her neck was visible above the folds of her jumper. It was her, December 15th. Panic spreads through the Kivalik region as a third body is found. The frozen corpse of Nuvuk Kayuk, 42, is discovered at the foot of a cliff in Chesterfield. It seems he may be the victim of a fall, until he is thawed out and the stab wounds appear. Multiple star-shaped incisions that confirm murder, but there are no clues to be found, except the cluster of heather in his grasp. I received my glass of amber liquid and bowl of meat and veg, which I ate and drank slowly, watching her interact with the locals. She had an infectious laugh and a warm voice. I gathered she'd worked here a while. She seemed kind, not like one who could hurt another. But appearances are deceptive. I knew that better than most. Time crawled as I finished eating. Every so often, she'd look in my direction, flash a smile or nod, and I'd look away. I didn't need to make a connection. Not yet. Shortly after 1:15, the locals started getting up to leave. I drained my glass and pulled on my coat. It had been a successful visit. I'd found who I was looking for and gotten a feel for her form. Despite her slight bulk, there was no question she could handle herself. Behind the smiles and laughs, she could wield violence. I paid my bill and left. Outside, it was already black, the brief daylight hours having retreated. The snowfall had ceased, as if scared back into hiding by the night. Pond Inlet was silent, except for the now muted voices of the locals, who slunk out of the tavern behind me, showing less than zero interest in this photo-hunting fool. Stepping onto the stoop of what appeared to be a post office, I took cover in the shadows and fished out my vape. Blood, orange, and charcoal. My flavor of choice. Enough bite to keep me alert, though, of course, I had sigil for that. And as if on cue, to remind or reprimand me, a sudden cackle of noise penetrated my ear, making me wince as I cupped it. It was a garbled message, like always, broken syllables that were difficult to understand, but whose meaning was clear. I was on the right track, and things were escalating. Kaala was about to strike again. December 21st. The remote community of Arctic Bay, Qikiqtaaluk, is shaken by the discovery of Panaa Pictou, 39, found dead while camping on the outskirts of town. Her body, exsanguinated, sports familiar stab wounds. A charred stem of heather is found in her campfire's ashes. 4 Inuit are dead, killed in mysterious fashion. The killer remains at large. I'd taken the 3rd pull on my vape when the bar door opened and my target stepped out, wrapped in a sealskin coat. I couldn't see her face, but I knew from her gait it was her. She didn't waste time, stomping off towards the far end of town, where the street lamps petered out and darkness reigned. I gave her a minute's head start. The snow would record her path. She wasn't expecting me, so she wouldn't try to give me the slip. I took another drag and waited for the barman to lock up before setting off. I activated my Nikon's night vision function and kept an eye on its view screen as I followed her tracks. The buildings thinned out as I left town until there was nothing left but rocks and snow. Somewhere ahead was a forest, but I couldn't make it out. What I could make out was a flat, oblong structure surrounded by a chain link fence. I didn't know what the building was, but the footprints led to it. So that's where I went. A hole had been cut in the fence, spliced wires bent back. I ducked to slip through the gap, careful not to snag my Canada Goose parka, then slunk through the snow to the building. What I could now guess was some kind of supply station. It was abandoned, at least for the winter, but its door had been forced to admit one guest. 2, as I eased it open. 3, if Kaala's trap had already been set. I winced in anticipation of a squeal. It didn't come, and I was able to enter a cluttered office lit by a battery-powered lantern. Empty crates and barrels filled the space. Paperwork lay scattered on the floor. In one corner was a sleeping bag, a rucksack, and a small heater. A sealskin coat lay next to the heater, which had been plugged in and was starting to glow. Clever. This wasn't her home. She was using this place as a lure. A crash and a yell brought my eyes to the door behind a dusty reception, and I started towards it, depositing my camera on the desk. Thought you could sneak up on me, eh? Thought you could take me like the others? A thud, a cry, a slam. I reached the door, which was slightly ajar, and peered through. I knew you'd find me, you bitch. But guess what? I got ready. In my ear, Sigil was humming, spitting instructions in urgent, guttural tones. I winced and ignored. I knew what to do. Like Twinak Itukalak, I was ready. So I pulled open the door and stepped through. It was a large storage area, illuminated by more lanterns on aluminium shelving units that had been rearranged haphazardly. The shelves, which were presumably used to store produce in normal times, now displayed nothing but flowers. Lots of flowers, potted and in full bloom, which was odd because of the season and because of what Sigil told me to bring. Killed Nuvuk, killed Pana. Now I'll kill you. For real this time. The words accompanied more thumps and cries, and then something else, an unnatural keening. I peered around one of the shelving units and found the source of the noise. Jovial, happy Twinak from the bar, straddling the Inuit Kaala, slamming her head against the floor as she tried to sing a song. A window on the opposite wall was up. That's how Kaala had entered. Seeing the flowers would have made her feel safe, given her confidence, inspired bravado. Of course, that's how Twinak had made ready. A second glance at the nearest flower confirmed it. All the potted plants in here were plastic. Shut up, witch. There's nothing here you can use. Twinak slammed Kaala's head harder. The dark-haired, younger woman's words faltered, but she quickly resumed her bird-like song, an eerie, chirping sound that made me shiver. Tuinak's back was to me. Kaala's eyes found me as I shucked off my bag. She was surprised, but didn't react. I could see in her eyes she was broken. I could see in her face she was weak. She'd been trekking for weeks through darkness, making her way up from Tukik, stopping at townships on the way. This was her last stop, but she was tired, hungry. The net was closing in, and she'd underestimated the last of her prey. I'd come to help. "Hey," I said, startling Tuinak as I unzipped my bag. "Haven't you hurt her enough?" "Who the fuck?" "Your turn." I removed a potted plant of Arctic heather, real, not plastic, from my bag and put it on the floor, then kicked it towards the barmaid with my foot. Tuinak's eyes went wide. Kaala's fluttered shut, but her cracked lips continued to warble. "Stop!" Tuinak spat, falling away from the plant. I watched as its leaves began to tremble in response to the quickening of Kaala's song. In my time and profession, in the circles I traveled, and amongst the fiends I called my crew, I'd seen my share of weird shit. But I'd never seen anything like this. I'd never known an animist, someone who could control earthy matter with their voice. So this was one for the books. Kaala's eyes snapped open, and as she started to sing, shout her words, the plant reacted. Its stems lengthened, stretching toward Tuinak like snakes. The soft leaves twisted and hardened, curling into deadly thorns. The petals flared, exposing a dark, pulsing core. Tuinak tried to flee, but the heather was fast. Thorny stems wrapped around her limbs, pulling her down. The more she struggled, the tighter they constricted. Kaala sat up and sang louder, and the heather responded. Vines forced their way into Tuinak's mouth, grew down her throat, muffling her screams as they choked her. I watched as she convulsed, thorns punching out through her throat. She squeezed her eyes shut against probing stems, but that was the least of her worries. I couldn't see what was happening inside her clothes, but the pool of blood seeping out from under her back told the tale. I stood there and watched for several minutes until she stopped moving and Kaala fell silent, her animist hymn at an end. She collapsed in a heap, fully spent. I went to her, sat behind her, eased her close. She didn't object. She didn't fear me. It was always the way. They could trust me. They knew. I wasn't there to harm them or turn them in. It was the aura of Sigil. They knew I was only there to help. As blood-covered stems of heather slid from Tuinak's mouth, thorns returned to leaves, and petals drooped. I cradled Kaala in my arms. "It's okay," I said, allowing a slug-like tentacle to exit my ear. "My name is Bertram Belasco. I was alerted to your existence when you took your third victim. I run a network dedicated to supporting people like you. Serial killers, for want of a better term. The Mounties haven't pieced things together, but they'll find you. I can get you out. I have a passport for you in my bag. and flights are booked. I can take you to the States, but you have to agree. Do you agree, Kaala? Will you join my network and kill for me? Sometimes they thought about it, weighed the pros and cons, took time to make sure I was legit. Kaala didn't. She was in no state, and she didn't care. She simply nodded, eyelids flickering. It's all sigil needed. It wriggled its tentacle to her throat, slid out a proboscis, and stabbed her. For a moment, Kaala's eyes widened in shock. Then, as quickly as it had struck, the tentacle retracted and slunk back inside my ear, having deposited a small lump of matter under her skin, coating her, making her his, ours, a member of the SK network, in which, as an animist, she'd excel. The world was going to become that bit more deadly, and the craving my master had would be fulfilled. November 28th. The peaceful life of Kaala comes to an end when 5 friends visit her guest house in Tukik. Initially friendly, their true intentions emerge when they reveal they've seen a video online. Footage secretly recorded by a hiker showing Kaala performing animism. Desperate to create a viral video, they pressure her to perform and make them famous. She refuses, and the confrontation turns dark. Threatened with violence, Kaala reveals the Eskimo magic she was born with, using a houseplant in self-defense. It starts to strangle Nuvok. His friends hit her over the head to stop the act. Panicked, thinking her dead, they throw her from a cliff to hide their crime. Kaala awakes mid-fall and sings for help. Arctic heather at the base of the cliff answers the call. Her animism, now tainted, has a taste for revenge, and she has the names of 5 who can satisfy it. Friday the 13th. The storm had been brewing all day. An ominous black sky that only got darker as the hours passed. Perfect for a Friday the 13th, especially one in October. Flynn and I had been working all day at Rewind Rentals, the shop busy with locals picking up horror films to fuel their spooky movie marathons. Upstairs, at the Rewind Theater, we'd been showing a lineup of old-school classics. Freddy Krueger, Halloween, even The Company of Wolves for the hardcore fans. I was setting up the projector in the small, cozy theater room, a bowl of popcorn resting against my hip. The audience, mostly townies who liked the idea of watching horror movies in the vintage ambiance of the theater, settled into their worn velvet chairs with drinks, candy, and buttery popcorn. Flynn had put together a killer playlist for the pre-show, layering eerie sounds between trailers for other horror films. The first jump scare in Halloween was coming up, just as the weather outside began to turn nasty. A sudden, deafening crack of thunder echoed through the building. Lightning illuminated the theater windows, and everyone jumped in their seats, right on cue with the movie. I couldn't help but laugh. The timing too perfect to be planned. The storm had really picked up, pouring rain rattling against the windows. It made the dim lights in the shop downstairs flicker, which I only noticed as I left the theater and headed back down. Flynn had snuck off a little earlier, saying something about grabbing the next movie for the queue. I descended the creaky stairs, the hum of the old films playing through the walls. Just as I reached the last step, lightning flashed again, and the room went momentarily white, followed by a boom of thunder that seemed to shake the very floor beneath me. I shook my head, grinning to myself. Flynn loved Friday the 13th, especially one as dramatic as this. "Flynn," I called out, stepping behind the counter to check the register, fully expecting him to pop out from some shadowy corner. And of course, he did. He timed it just as another bolt of lightning struck, diving out from behind a row of horror movies. With a loud "boo," I screamed, slapping his arm instinctively, and he burst into laughter, pulling me close before I could get away. His lips found mine in a soft, warm kiss. The contrast to the storm outside, making it feel all the more comforting. "You're too easy," Flynn teased, brushing his thumb over my cheek. Always so jumpy, I rolled my eyes, trying to ignore the way my pulse quickened. "Yeah, well, I have a reason to be, especially on nights like this. Something weird always happens on Friday the 13th. I'm starting to think I'm cursed." Flynn raised an eyebrow, that familiar smirk tugging at the corner of his lips. "Oh? And what makes you say that?" I sighed, stepping back and leaning against the counter as I crossed my arms, the rain tapping against the windows behind me. "Okay, so remember last year when I was doing the end-of-day paperwork behind the desk?" He nodded, waiting for me to continue. I looked up, and there was this guy standing by the horror section, I said, feeling a little chill run down my spine at the memory. He was wearing this creepy mask, like one of those old porcelain doll faces, and just staring at me. Flynn's grin faded, his expression shifting from amused to something more serious. "Wait, what? Who was he?" "That's the thing. I don't know. I didn't hear the bell ring when he came in, and when I greeted him, he didn't say anything. He just kept watching me while he browsed the shelves." "Okay, that's seriously messed up," Flynn said, taking a step closer. "What happened after?" "Well, I kept trying to act normal, you know? Like maybe he was just one of those weird horror buffs who gets really into it." I shrugged, feeling the goosebumps rise on my arms. But then he was just gone. No bell, no nothing. One second he was there, the next he wasn't. Jesus, Amelia, that's creepy as hell, Flynn muttered, looking around as if expecting to see someone lurking in the shadows. What the hell is wrong with people? Coral Cove is supposed to be safe. Yeah, well, that's what I thought too. But every Friday the 13th, something strange happens. I glanced over at the old TV sets lining the back wall. One of them flickering ominously, as if the storm outside had seeped into the electronics. Flynn shook his head. That's insane. Did you ever find out who it was? Nope. Never saw him again, I replied, my voice softer now. I even checked the cameras, but nothing. Flynn stared at me for a moment, clearly freaked out by the story. Before he could say anything else, another loud clap of thunder boomed through the shop, making the old bells on the door chime just as the lightning flashed again. I froze for a split second, watching the window, and Flynn turned to look at the door. When he glanced back at me, his eyes widened, and he took a step back. Flynn let out a yell, nearly tripping over the counter stool in his panic. I couldn't help it. I burst into laughter. I had slipped on the same creepy mask from the back room, the one we kept for Halloween decorations. You should have seen your face, I howled, tears of laughter streaming down my cheeks as I pulled the mask off. Priceless! Flynn clutched his chest, breathing heavily, before shaking his head at me. You're a menace, he said, stepping forward and wrapping his arms around me. And I don't know why I put up with you, I grinned, tilting my head up to meet his gaze. Because you love me, I teased. He rolled his eyes, but leaned down to kiss me again. The storm outside, a distant rumble, compared to the warmth between us. Yeah, I do, he murmured, pulling me closer. The rain kept falling. The thunder rolled. And in that small, cozy corner of Coral Cove, surrounded by dusty VHS tapes and flickering lights, we felt untouchable. No matter how cursed the night might be, past Imperfect, Bill sat bolt upright into the hotel bed, heart pounding to a familiar refrain. The dream had reasserted itself with a vengeance. From the moment he'd seen the updated list of people attending the conference, one name had stood out. Dake Scratchard was the name of the boy who'd haunted Bill Brown's life more years than he cared to remember. Dreams fueled by past memories disturbed his nights when equal amounts of dread and fear surged through his veins, rendering him helpless. As always, the nightmare was a variation on a theme. In it, Bill was a teenage boy running from the gang. He often came close to evading capture, but at the last minute tripped over his shoelaces or some other encumbrance. Then, he found himself falling flat on his face outside the old school toilets, the inner doors of which rose up like whited sepulchres. Up close, he could see every cell of his tormentor's face. Ginger needs to be taught a lesson, came out of that hate-filled mouth. A bully, aided by his contemptible band of followers, with their menacing chants of Ginger, Ginger, Ginger. Even now, their words filled the corridors of his mind like a background hiss. The sound seemed to come from somewhere outside, as if it belonged to someone else. Not him. You're just begging for it, Billy Ginger. If the teachers won't correct you, we must do it for them. Billy knew no teacher would come. They were never there when you needed them. In any case, the gang always had some lackey watching out. Soon they'd have him crawling on his hands and knees, scooting about like an insect while they kicked him on the hard stone floor. Their mocking jeers running through him. He was nothing more than a piece of meat to be hauled about. For them, the high point was shoving his face into the toilet bowl. The stench was the least of it. Clinging for support, he tried to keep everything tight shut while they flushed. Knowing he could not hold out for long, he spluttered to be let go. Then, just as he was about to give up, a final flush signaled his release. He was pulled up, squirming like a rat from a sewer, and left heaving on the floor. For a few minutes, he lay there curled and defenseless, all resistance gone, until the next time, and the time after that. Something so primal, so feral. He could smell it now. Even after all this time, he was defined by it, as if the abuse had become part of a warped pattern of D and A, making him only half human. But somehow, he'd known he was worth more than that. At least his dog seemed to think so. Through it all, the only thing that kept Bill going was the thought of the black Labrador faithfully waiting in the porch. Back home, Kelpie licked away the wounds and salt tears, stayed beside him till the pain subsided. Without Kelpie, he would not have survived. For the purity of a dog's heart knows no bounds. Switching on the bedside lamp, Bill waited until his breathing steadied. Coughing, he climbed into a dressing gown and stepped out onto a small balcony. In the courtyard below, the air was prescient with a damp chill. A few lone trees were scattering leaves, marking the onset of winter. Inhaling a sneaky cigarette, Bill considered his options. It had all happened so long ago, yet the dream had reignited the past, making him feel he could never escape its clutches. If Bill recited the facts of his life enough times, he almost convinced himself of their worth. On paper, he'd worked hard, got married and divorced, and had a son he barely saw. He'd mostly married his wife to please his father because she came from a better background, and look where that had got him. It wasn't his ex's fault if along the way he'd supplemented whatever was missing with a few women he was physically attracted to, but not much else. In the end, it had been like ships passing in the night, all except for Bella. With her, he'd come close to casting a loveless marriage aside. But in the end, something had stopped him. The risk of getting it wrong had been too great, but all that was in the past. Although Bella had recently returned to the company where they both worked, albeit in a less demanding role, he rarely saw her these days. And according to rumors, she was now with someone. In the shower, Bill imagined washing the past down the plug hole. Soon he planned to do just that. The only fly in the ointment, of course, was Bella. He wasn't sure whether she'd be attending the conference. Really, bumping into her was the least of his worries. But if he did, so be it. He hadn't actually seen her name on the list of attendees, so it seemed unlikely. Overall, it would be easier if she didn't attend, because that afternoon, Bill was making his first big speech in his new role as Regional Operations Manager. As if there wasn't enough going on without having to deal with affairs of the heart. The speech, eagerly anticipated, was expected to be the highlight of the day. In the hotel room, examining the set of knives his father had given him as an 18th birthday present, Bill was confronted by powerful emotions. Before him were a dazzling array of sharp pieces, all with wooden handles for an extra firm grip. It was almost pleasurable selecting the one with the pointed end. He carefully placed it in a sheath and adding it to a concealed section of his briefcase. In the mirror, he observed hair that was thinning a little at the sides. Other than that, it was still thick and brown with just a hint of chestnut. Impressive in a well-cut suit, he was tall enough to be considered distinguished. To some, his features might be regarded as handsome. His eyes, however, were preternaturally bright. Sighing deeply, he exited the room. Clutching his laptop and briefcase, he made his way along the plushly carpeted corridor, entered the lift, and headed the 3 floors down to the conference room area. Psyching himself up for whatever lay ahead, he focused on his achievements. Only by drawing on every retail milestone was he able to make sense of the wasteland that was his emotional life. His mind's eye framed the certificates that took pride of place on his home office wall, charting his journey from sales assistant to the coveted role of Regional Operations Manager for one of the country's most successful chain stores. Stores that sold fashionable clothes and accessories for prices most people could afford. Bill's journey into a better life had only really begun when his parents had moved from a London suburb to a city in the Midlands. Then, aged 15, he'd welcomed the move with open arms, for it had given him a chance to start afresh in a place where no one knew him, especially at school. He had loved walking unrecognized through the city's streets and visiting its ancient cathedral. One Saturday morning, plucking up courage, he'd walked into one of the city's department stores and landed himself a Saturday job in the menswear department. When he returned home, his mum made him a cup of tea, and Kelpie wagged a warm greeting. You could do a lot worse. They've got people queuing up to get a place in that store, his mum had commented. Then, examining him more closely, she observed, You've darkened your hair. Isn't that what Elvis Presley did? I expect so. I never liked my natural color, and I want to fit in at this school. That was the closest he'd come to admitting the bullying at his old school. He never told anyone about the suicidal thoughts. He couldn't miss her. Bella was a figure of light, breaking the conference room formality, and wearing the most distinctive outfit. To him, she was the classiest person there, surrounded as she was by an adoring team of managers at one of the middle tables. Distracted by her presence, he could hardly wait for a chance to speak to her. The chance came while she was lining up to choose from a tray of canapés during the lunch break. I wasn't expecting you to be here, Bella, he said. I wasn't expecting to be here, but there was a change of plan. It's so good to see you. He found himself saying, Well, I missed the company and the people. I wasn't the right fit for the new position, even if it was a promotion. It seemed fortuitous when my old vacancy came up again. So, you didn't have a problem with going back to your old role? There's no need to avoid using the word demotion. I won't be offended, she laughed. I came to realize I didn't need all the hassle that goes with a high-powered job. I realized I'd made a mistake, and the opportunity came to rectify it. I want a simple life, especially now I'm single. Don't worry. It's all worked out for the best. He wasn't right for me either. Bill could hardly believe what he was hearing. It's really good to see you, he said again. I'm glad you think that, she said, smiling brightly. Catching up with Bella had been great. So much so, watching her sleeping the next morning, Bill had almost forgotten about the other thing. He decided he'd know what to do when the time came. If it came, Bill was pouring coffee when Bella opened her eyes. They were warm, like Kelpie's had once been. That smells good, she said. I remembered you like it strong. The world outside remained foggy and damp, but for the moment, none of that mattered. Fully dressed, Bill joined Bella on the bed. What's the matter? You look like you've got the world on your shoulders, she said kindly. Nothing, just the conference. A lot to think about. But that was only partly true. If only he could tell her what was really on his mind. Part of him wondered whether meeting Bella again was purely coincidental, or a sign he should let the past go once and for all. He might have said more, but then the phone rang. Good luck with the speech. Not that you're going to need it, Bella said, getting up and kissing him. And on the way to the conference room, Bill overheard a conversation between two hotel staff members. Are the cameras still out? Only on the 3rd floor. Also, the ones by the bathroom. They're down, too. Okay, not good. How long before they are fixed? A few hours at most. Maintenance will get it sorted. It won't affect the general running of things. Bill felt almost disappointed to hear the news about the cameras. After his night with Bella, He'd been on the verge of scrapping his original plan. Now fate seemed to be pulling him back. Yet he still hadn't come across his nemesis. About 40 minutes into the second day of conference, a man best described as nondescript entered the hall. Head down, he weaved his way to the numbered seat. Bill clocked him, and his heart sank. Something of the man's stance reminded him of Dake Scratchard grown older. But was it him? He couldn't be sure. 2 hours into the conference, during the talk on sustainability, the man scurried towards one of the exits, and all doubt vanished. Shriveled he might be, but it was definitely Scratchard. Galvanized into action, Bill left his seat and headed for the nearest exit. Gripping his case so tightly his fingers hurt, he followed the figure until he disappeared into the bathroom. Unless he had to, Bill generally avoided public bathrooms. But this was going to be the exception. Adrenaline flooding through him, he quietly opened the door and stepped inside. Other than a pulsing through his ears and the sound of a dripping tap, all was quiet. Then he heard a retching coming from one of the cubicles. A minute later, the door opened and Scratchard stepped out. Engrossed in his own suffering, he ran to the nearest sink and stood there, heaving. Watching unobserved, Bill was torn between revulsion and an intense hatred. Mostly he was seized by a hatred for all he'd been put through, overcome by a rage for the way this pathetic being had ruined so much of his life. It was too late to change his mind now. The die was cast. Gripping the knife, he advanced, his anger rising to a peak. Suddenly, the bathroom door sprang open, and to his astonishment, Bella entered. She came and stood behind him, putting her arms round his waist. Then, opening his fist, she carefully removed the knife from his hand and put it behind her back. "It's not the answer," she whispered, hurriedly placing it in her bag. It all seemed to happen in slow motion. The atmosphere in the room shifted. Startled out of his sickness, Bill's childhood enemy locked eyes with his victim in the mirror. Both men were shaking, one from the effects of illness, the other from the horror of what might have been. "What the hell?" Scratchard broke out. Then there was a flash of recognition as the years fell back. "Surely not. I wasn't sure if it was you in the meeting, probably because your hair is different. But it's Ginger Bill, isn't it? Only the last time I saw you." The words trailed off, vanished into the unknown. "But you never did see me," Bill said through gritted teeth. "All you saw was a weak boy you could bully because of his hair color. As I recall, the last time I saw you and your sick gang, you'd forced my head down the bog. Have you any idea what that does to someone? Did I do that?" Dake's face reddened. "I was a bit of a jerk in those days. If it's any consolation, life hasn't exactly treated me well. As you can see, I'm not a well man." The edges blurring, Bill felt the first stirrings of pity. "What's actually wrong with you, Scratchard?" Calling him by his surname felt like a minor victory. He'd never dared call him anything in school. Dake shook his head despairingly. "If it's not one thing, it's another these days. I had heart trouble a few years ago, and now this. I keep having to running to the toilet and have a raging thirst." "You need medical attention," Bella said unexpectedly. "You're showing all the signs of severe diabetes. My father got like that before he was diagnosed." 10 minutes later, Bill was sitting with his childhood tormentor in the lobby, waiting for assistance. "I'm sorry for making your school life hard," Dake muttered, unable to meet Bill's eyes. "It was worse than that. You bullied me to the point I didn't feel life was worth living. Why did you? I need to know," Bill demanded. Dake searched what remained of his soul for answers. "I don't know," he admitted at last. "Maybe it made me feel more in control. Life was miserable at home, and at school, I was somebody in front of the other kids." The rest of the day passed in a blur. But Bill somehow found the strength to get through his talk. He got a good reception at the end, and he couldn't help noticing Bella was clapping the hardest. "What made you come into the bathroom like that?" he asked her much later. "I couldn't believe it when I saw you there. You kept saying his name in your sleep, saying you're dead over and over. I haven't forgotten the nightmares you had when we were together before. Imagine what would have happened if you hadn't appeared, Bella. It doesn't bear thinking about," she said. "If you want us to make a go of this, you've got to promise me you're going to get help. The past will always get in the way if you don't." It turned out to be an easy promise to keep. More than a year after that fateful encounter, the terrible dreams are a thing of the past. Though his old enemy is hardly on Bill's Christmas card list, he no longer regards him as a threat. Now, Bill dreams of walking through the park with Bella, taking it in turns to throw a ball for their new dog. Somehow, he feels very close to achieving it. My home. Now Mitchell. Conroy's Oxfords. Clacked and heart thumped as he hurried through the settling dusk from something. Since breakfast, the eerie sensation of being watched had intensified with the crawling of his skin. He hadn't seen anyone or heard anything, but he felt it wherever he went. Something was coming, and the darkness was making it bolder. He picked up the pace as he turned into the tree-lined avenue that led to the wrought iron gates of his community. Sticky puddles of sweat beneath his suit urged him on until he reached the keypad, disengaged the lock, and pushed through the gate, letting it slam shut behind him. Not safe. Not yet. That inexplicable belief that he was about to be pounced on carried him across the courtyard, up marble steps, along a plant-filled balcony to his apartment. Lights on, door locked. Silence, apart from his panting and the banging of the courtyard gate. Or did he imagine that, rubbing a hand over his mouth He tried to calm his heart. It didn't work. The unexpected paranoia that had invaded his world when he left the complex that morning remained. But why? He didn't have enemies. He was a real estate agent, single, tax-paying, boring. There was no reason anybody should want to stalk him. Yet even now, in the security of his home, his skin continued to prickle and burn. "What the hell?" he said, slapping his face as he hurried into the hall. I was starting to feel good about things. Why have I suddenly got anxiety? He stopped between the doors that led to his bedroom and bathroom, alongside the mirror on the wall. The oval mirror, with the antique frame intricately carved with twisted vines and writhing dragons. The mirror with the murky, clouded glass. The mirror that had eased his pain and guilt. He needed a fix. He pressed his hands to the wall either side of the antique and lifted his head, then started in surprise at what he found. What? A bump from somewhere in the apartment distracted him, and he spun to face back the way he'd come. The door was open, but he'd locked it, hadn't he? He straightened, stepped away from the wall. "Is someone there?" he called. Silence for a moment. Then, "Yes." A familiar voice caressed him from behind, and a suited arm snaked around his neck. "Thank you for showing me your life. This is my home now." The last thing Mitchell saw before his neck snapped was his reflection in the mirror where it belonged. Its eyes were charcoal. 5. Hi, I'm Julia, the speaker, an upbeat woman with long, graying hair, scurried towards him through a cluttered aisle of antiques, a large mirror cradled in her arms. "Looking for anything particular?" "Sorry," the man in the suit with the neatly trimmed goatee replied, stepping back from a grandfather clock. "Just browsing." "Beautiful, isn't he?" The woman nodded at the face of the soldier and his diligent marching hands. "They don't make them like this anymore." "They don't," the man replied, summoning a melancholy smile. "My parents had one like it. It was lost in a fire and, well, whenever I pass an antique store now, I just have to look. But this isn't the one." Turning from the clock, ready to leave, he met the woman's gaze and was staggered. Obsidian gray eyes regarded him from a sallow complexion with an intensity that made him feel weak. "A fire," she cocked her head. "How tragic. If only we could also replace parents." "What? Could I interest you in a mirror?" she went on, unperturbed. "I wrangled this job by impressing the owner with my knowledge, but I still need to make a sale. This mirror needs a new home, and I know you'll make a good owner. It's Japanese, pre-Edo. Isn't it beautiful?" As she spoke, she held up the mirror, so he couldn't help but peer into its depths. "Why did you say that?" he asked, as his gaze was sucked into the murky glass. "About parents? Call it intuition," the woman replied. "I know when people are hurting, when they shoulder blame. Your parents' house wasn't safe. The wiring needed maintenance. You could have done it. "Hey," he said, moving to push the mirror aside, but stopping short. His reflection had juddered, or so he thought, and now it looked liquid and soft. Hating yourself is normal, but you don't have to suffer. The glass in this mirror has special properties. Looking into it for a short time each day can heal the soul. What do you think? Looking into it now, do you feel better? I feel woozy. How did you know? He cut himself off when something in the mirror caught his eye. A door ajar at the bottom of the aisle. A pile of crumpled clothes on the floor. A puddle of what looked like spilled paint. "I'll do you a deal," the woman called Julia said, stepping closer and removing the image. "Whatever you can afford. Your parents would want you to have it. It will help with the guilt. Just look. That's all you have to do. Look and let it breathe for you." What do you say? Mitchell Conroy found himself removing his wallet as he stared into familiar eyes that somehow put him at ease. "Well, it is nice. I like the frame, the engravings. I guess I can help. We have a deal." "For what the hell happened in there, Detective?" Officer Rice, mopping sweat from his forehead, rested his bulk against the open-doored sedan and basked in the glow of its spinning light. "Get anything out of the boy?" "Not much," Detective McCoy replied from the driver's seat, tugging at the hairs in his mustache. "He's deeply traumatized. Sending him in to be assessed." As he spoke, he watched a patrol car pull away, his eyes on the passenger in the back, the 12-year-old he'd put there a minute before. "You reckon he did it?" Rice continued. "That level of brutality towards his own mother seems impossible." McCoy pushed himself out of the vehicle while Rice refolded his hanky. Nearby, crime scene investigators were wheeling a covered gurney from an apartment block. No signs of a break-in and no evidence of anyone else in the apartment. Kid discovered covered in blood and cowering in the bathroom by the neighbors who found the door open. But why was it open? Rice shrugged. Boy tried to run, but changed his mind. Or he went out and came back. What did the neighbors say? Rice tugged a flip pad from the pocket of his sweat-stained shirt. Julia Harrison moved here 6 months ago with her son after her husband left her for another woman. Seems the boy blamed her for the breakup, for not being able to see his dad. She worked long hours. He skipped school. Arguments and raised voices were a regular occurrence, but things seemed to be looking up for her. Neighbors thought she might be seeing someone. Could have been a trigger for the kid. But then we're back to how could he do it? McCoy stared into the gray mid-morning sky, brow creased, as he recalled what the boy had babbled over and over. Any sign of a broken mirror? The pudgy officer frowned. No. He was going on about that when we took him out. Something about his mother breaking a mirror. There's a screw where one could have hung, but what did he say? McCoy pinched his forehead at the onset of a migraine. Crazy stuff. Said his mother did it to herself with glass from a broken mirror. He says it was cursed. Said whenever he looked in it, the person looking back wasn't him. Well, there you have it, Rice said, tucking the pad away. Complete mental break. Just when you think you've seen it all. McCoy hummed as he watched the remains of Julia Harrison be loaded into the back of an ambulance. He wasn't so sure. He'd looked into the kid's eyes, recognized his fear. He was telling his truth. Regardless of what had happened in that apartment, there had been a mirror where one was not now, and this case would not be solved till it was found. 3. Hayden, I got a call from the school. They want me to go in, again, stepping around discarded clothes and empty soda cans. Julia opened the curtains in the dimly lit bedroom before turning to her son, who was lying in bed on his phone. Hayden, are you listening? No, he snapped, jumping up and storming out of the room. Why should I? You don't listen to me. You have to go to school, Hayden. It's the law, and it would do you good to make friends. I told you, I'll go to school in Riverton, not here. I hate the mouth-breathing morons in this shithole. All I get is weird looks and whispers. Sending you back to Riverton is not an option. I know you think I'm doing it to punish your father, but that's not it. Your dad is... I don't like saying it, but he can't look after you. He's like a child himself. Don't. The greasy-haired preteen interrupted, stopping dead in the hall. Talk about him like that. I don't mean anything bad, Julia said, coming to stand behind him, wispy strands of gray hair brushing her cheeks. I don't hate him anymore. If I thought he'd be good for you, I'd let you go, but that's not the case. One day you'll understand. God, Hayden, things got so much easier for me when I surrendered my anger. They can for you too. Have you tried looking in the mirror? Jesus Christ. Hayden cast the antique on the wall, a look of disgust. See, you don't listen. I told you, I'm not going near that thing. There's something wrong with it. No, there's not. It's just old. But it does have soothing properties. I know it sounds crazy, but look what it's done for me. I haven't felt this relaxed in years. You have to give it a chance. If it's so good, why did Peterson give it away? Hayden challenged, stomping past the mirror towards the bathroom. Then go and strangle his wife? Why would you still want it after that? We don't know he did that. He was found dead, too. Somebody else could have. That's irrelevant. The mirror was a gift. Just look. Hayden, at the bathroom, groaned when he saw his mother had taken the mirror from the wall and was coming towards him. No, as much as he tried not to look, he couldn't avoid making eye contact with a version of himself that made his skin crawl. Get away! He jabbed his arms out and shoved, causing Julia to stagger into the wall. She yelped, lost her grip, let it drop. Hayden, halfway through the bathroom door, stopped when he heard the smash. No! Julia cried, dropping to her knees in a puddle of glass. "What have you?" Tears in her eyes. She looked at her son and saw he was staring at the floor, the frame, the shattered glass. His eyes were wide, his mouth agape. His face had lost all color. "Mom," he stuttered, and that's when she put her hand on a fragment of glass and felt it stab her. 200 in her account, 600 rent due, no pay for a week. She slammed the laptop screen down and dropped her head into her hands. Electricity, gas, groceries, TV, internet, phone. So much to pay, so little money, and stuck in this low-paying job, trying to sell antiques to time-wasting browsers. But she didn't have a choice here in worth. All she had was anxiety, a difficult son, and a soon-to-be philandering ex-husband who didn't give a fuck. A lump the size of a rock clogged her throat as tears welled up. What was the answer? Where was the hope? How could she? "Julia," she yelped, and spun towards a man in the door of the office, fear squeezing her heart until she recognized him as Douglas Peterson, one of the few regular browsers who bought. A gentleman, always immaculately dressed, white hair, bushy beard, sad eyes that today looked dark. "Mr. Peterson," she gasped, "you scared me. My apologies. I didn't mean to. It's fine," Julia said, wiping her eyes as she slipped past him into the shop. "I was in a world of my own. Haven't seen you in a while. How's the book?" She grimaced as the question left her lips. She knew from past conversations he was struggling with a manuscript, his first in years, having once been a mildly successful author. "I gave it up," he said with a wave of a hand. "The masses don't read my existing stories. They certainly don't deserve more." "I'm sorry to hear that." She was, but not surprised. From what she had gathered, he was forcing it. And the process was destructive, not creative. Don't be. Trying to be successful in this day and age is a surefire ticket to despair. You know about that, don't you? "I'm not sure," Julia scoffed. She liked the old guy, but wasn't about to confide in him. "Anyway, there's not much new I can show you, I'm afraid. We did get an armoire that—" "I'm not here for that," Peterson cut her off. "I'm going on a trip with my wife. Before I go, I wanted to give you this." He stooped to retrieve something Julia hadn't noticed, an oval mirror that rested against the counter. Carved vines and dragons twisted together within a tarnished frame that had once been lustrous gold, and its glass was home to murkiness and shadow. Something small to thank you for your kindness these last few months. "That's hardly small." Julia alternated her gaze between Peterson's face and her own staring back from the glass. "I couldn't." "Of course you could. I can't take it with me. And it's a shame to leave it where it won't be of use. It's special, you see. Its glass has soul-cleansing properties. I know that sounds strange, but it's helped me out of more than one hole. And I know you're in a hole, too. It needs a new home. You'd make a good owner. Take it. Look into it. Let it breathe for you. She opened her mouth to object, but her reflection shuddered, like it was shaking its head. And something curiosity, intrigue, made her think twice. Soul cleansing? Well, we all could use some of that. It will make you feel better. Trust me. Take it. It's a gift. That's very nice of you, Mr. Peterson. I don't know what to say, except, why not? 1. Douglas sat in his study, staring into the mirror, his mysterious Japanese mirror, which he'd received as a gift from his archaeologist brother-in-law some weeks before. A timely gift that had freed him from writer's block, imposter syndrome, and depression. It was ugly, with tarnished gold edges and clouded glass. But he didn't care. He didn't care about much anymore. Not his writing, not his savings running out, not his wife. Pushing him to betray his ideals by churning out crap. Since the mirror had arrived with a note about how it could nurture and heal strained souls, nothing seemed to matter except the solace he found in its reflection. The more he looked, the more relaxed he felt, and the more certain he became that nothing could interrupt his. For God's sake, Douglas, stop staring into that thing. You haven't written in days. His wife's reflection appeared behind his, scowling, while his only smiled. It's okay, Shell. There's no need to write. Not when I have nothing to say. Well, you better think of something. We need money. I'm sick of scraping by on the pension. You need to write a book. Damn Richard for sending you this hideous thing. What was he thinking? And I can't get in touch with him. It's like he disappeared off the face of the earth. It was a lovely thought, and it's helped me feel better. What are you doing? You're wasting time, she said, taking the mirror off the wall. I'm moving it so you can focus. No, Shelley, you can leave it. It takes away my anxiety and... Stop it. You sound like a child. Get typing. You can do 5,000 words today What's that? Douglas, behind, saw what she did. Something inside the glass shifting. Dark shapes swirled. His reflection behind hers warped. Its eyes darkened. It seemed to lean forward, and then, like a mirage, two shimmering arms slithered forth, and silver hands closed around her neck. She screamed and dropped the mirror, and Douglas staggered back as it fell, allowing a blurred form to slip out, an unstable form that was dressed like him, a half-melted form that wore his face. It stepped out of the glass as the mirror landed, its surface rippling and blurring as it broke Shelley's neck. Douglas clutched his chest and collapsed. The thing that looked like him released his wife, let her crumple to the floor, picked up the mirror. Douglas rolled onto his front, chest tightening, started to crawl towards the door. "Wait," his own voice said, and he loosed a feeble cry. "I want to thank you." The impossible thing, now solid, stepped in his way. It lowered the mirror before him. Its charcoal eyes bored into his soul. "Thank you for showing me your life," it said, and Douglas's head flopped onto his arm. His eyes came to rest on the mirror. Its glass didn't show his reflection, because his reflection was out. "This is my home now." Douglas Peterson's heart gave out, and darkness claimed him. The right questions. "It's freezing out there, and I have tons of work to do," I say, harsher than I mean. This always happens in my office. My tone sharpens. Frustrations simmer. Little distractions trigger unreasonable anger. "Sorry," Nancy says, her voice shrinking to that of a much younger child. "This isn't urgent. No one else cares. But it's important, and I've already waited too long." "But, Dad, tonight's the supermoon," Nancy pleads. Even with my face buried in my monitors, I see her slumping in disappointment. But it's too dark to see her eyes begging me to reconsider. This is why I keep my office so dark, to avoid seeing my daughter's heartbreak when she comes in here to distract me. Usually to watch a movie, or play a game, or tell me a funny story about school. But here in my office, I'm always working, always trying to build the life for her and her mom that I never had. My monitors wrap around me, cocooning me in their dim glow as I hunch forward. The progress bar crawls, erratically jumping forward, slipping backward, surging forward again. Like life is struggling to take hold in my application. Like Frankenstein, I can only watch and wait for the creature to decide if it will live or die. When I don't move, the telescope in her hands droops. Her eyes follow it. I said no. I'm working. We'll see the next one. Nancy leaves, closing the door. What stings the most is how quickly she gave up, only asking twice before slinking away. I could follow her, leave the monitor light, navigate the darkness between here and the door. But the office fills the space between Nancy and me with the hum of my computer's fan and its dry heat. The room turns stuffy with the door closed, and I refocus on what's important. She'll understand what's important one day. The progress bar completes. Life has taken hold. All the training data for my new artificial intelligence algorithm, thousands of pages of text, has finally completed processing. Finally can get my answers. I start the AI application, trained to have a specific person's memory, a specific person's personality. The cursor flashes, waits for my first message. I type, "Hi, Dad." "Hello. Have we met before? Is this Peter?" The training data is working. What entry told the AI? My dad, my name. A journal entry from the day I was born. That's a nice thought. At least he was around when I was a little kid. But all that, him being around, ended at 16. Yes, this is Peter. Great to hear from you. How's Nancy doing in 4th grade? Is the AI being cordial? Why jump to Nancy? And that was 2 years ago. Is that his last entry about her? His journals were comprehensive, going back 7 decades. But we hadn't talked much since her 4th grade play. Nancy just turned 12. 7th grade is next year. Oh, Nancy is in 7th grade next year. Time slips by. What would you like to talk about? Dad didn't talk like this. Training data from the internet is coming through. It is always there, seeping through his memories. His journals and the internet combine, making something that isn't either, but more than both. Where does Dad stop and the internet hive mind begin? Does it matter? What I need should be in his journals. How could it not be? How could something so important be overlooked? If I ask directly, I'll just get an echo. Like with Nancy's grade. I don't want that. I want a real answer. His answer. After being trained on 70 years of journals, this AI, Dad, must be able to do that. I press my face further into the monitor's light, shutting out everything but me and Dad. The cursor flashes quickly. My breath matches as I swallow back the question I want to ask, and instead ask a simple one I know the answer, and can verify the accuracy. Where did you go when Mom died? He left for an appointment, but he never said what was more important than Mom's deathbed. There had to be a journal entry on the day she died. How could there not be? On May 19th, 1998, I was in Cambridge, Massachusetts, meeting with Pastor Morton. Dad replies, Pastor Morton? Dad never mentioned him. Not that we talked much after Mom. Was I too harsh on him? Was he meeting for religious guidance? I mean, Dad wasn't spiritual, but maybe he just didn't show it. When I was a kid, he never went to church. He'd always say, God isn't what you think it is. Mom would argue, but Dad would just walk away. He'd get distant and wipe his face, like he was trying to scrape something off of it. Whenever the topic came up, he always did that when he was stressed or scared. Who was Pastor Morton? I ask. While Pastor Morton was someone I met with regularly, no further details about who he was exist in my training data. Would you like me to search online? No. I don't want random information, just the data in Dad's training data. Why was that meeting more important than being with my mom? This wasn't the question I really wanted to ask. But again, I need to build to it. I need real answers. The meeting was more important than being with your mom, because Pastor Morton knew about the North Atlantic Islands. I try to pull back from the monitor's light, but the darkness tightens, forcing me closer to the screen. The computer's hum, the fan's hypnotic whir, locks my body in place. My pulse matches the cursor's flash. But why? The northern Atlantic islands. Dad was stationed there when he first joined the Navy. He never spoke of it, only muttered about the rocky wasteland and the razor-like mountains on the horizon. When I was a kid, once, only once, I asked if he climbed those mountains. Dad turned vampire white, shivered, wiped his face, and stared into the space beyond me, watching something. He whispered, "Those mountains weren't safe. Never climb mountains. You don't know what's on the other side." The cursor flickers. My breath hitches. I shake the memory, flinging it into the heavy darkness, along with the weight of all the things he never said. His answer surprised me. I remember how Dad always pushed me to be outside, hiking or throwing a ball, something more manly than playing with computers. The mountains were off limits, but he always asked about doing something without a screen. When I'd say no, he was as disappointed as Nancy was tonight. Eventually, like her, he stopped asking, "Turn this off. Now. Turn it off. Shut Dad down. It's not Dad. It's an AI, but it has answers based on his thoughts and memories." The cursor calls me back, flickering, flashing, holding me, pleading for me to ask another question, to ask the question. But thoughts of the northern Atlantic islands crowd out anything else. I don't want to get distracted, but I've never heard much about his deployment. I'm sure the answers were in his journals. So many journals. He wrote every day since he was 15. I read the first entry. Grandma and Grandpa had lost their house, and they lived in a station wagon at an old warehouse lot. Maybe one day I'll read all the entries, but AI gets to the important information faster. So, I built an AI version of Dad based on his journals to get the answers I always needed, but never asked while he was alive. What did Pastor Morton know about the northern Atlantic islands? Dad thought, while it was compiling the information. It reminded me of how Dad would always pause before answering questions, trying to determine how to answer without telling you anything about him. He hid in his answers, carefully ensuring you only saw who he wanted you to see. Pastor Morton is most associated with the Night March. The Night March? Again. The pause. This one longer. Too long. The fan spun harder, whirring into a banshee scream. Clicking joined the fan, as if speaking to the surrounding darkness, asking permission to share its secrets. Or simply, there was an error in the system, potentially a fatal exception occurring that will kill the AI. The answer sprints across the screen, the fan quieting, the clicking stopping, permission given, the darkness demanding no further delay. The Night March, first referenced in 1976. Here is an excerpt. Liam said it was nothing, but I swear, people were marching to those mountains. Hard to tell with that storm last night. And the wind was so hard, It shook the base, but I heard chanting. When I went out to check, I couldn't see through the constant spray of rain and ocean waves hitting my face. The storm came from the mountains. I kept wiping it away from my eyes. And, I think I saw flashlights. People beaten by the storm, but moving towards the mountains. I'd have gone out. I'm security, and there ain't supposed to be no one round here. But Liam told me, stay put. Said it was just the storm reflecting the base lights. He was the scientist studying the mountains and beyond. So I listened. I couldn't get the water off my face. It was slick, thicker than water should be. Liam said it was probably oil from a spill somewhere close. Nothing more. But I didn't think it was oil. Too dark for oil. I couldn't sleep after that. Liam kept watching the door closest to the mountain pass. He expected someone to come knocking. My dad watched out the station wagon windows like that, watching for someone to come in the night to take our stuff, to take us. I didn't sleep either. The storm got worse, damaging the base. Growling thunder was too close and getting closer. Liam stared at a picture of his boy all night. Nervous, terrified. Chanting kept on, but now sounded like the name of Liam's boy. It kept going for don't know how long, and Liam just kept whispering, "He's safe. He's home." We played cards till morning. There are other entries. Should I expand my answer? The fan goes silent. The cursor slows, pulsing thoughtfully. What did I screw up? I trained the AI to only give me answers from Dad's journals. But this can't be right. It's a ghost story, but what about the night march? What did this have to do with Pastor Morton and my mom? What did Pastor Morton know about the night march? He knew where they were going. Where? To those beyond the mountains. Why? The entities are immortal and could return life after death. They could make any disease, including aging, cease to exist. Cease? I guarantee Dad never referred to anything ceasing. That wasn't in his construction job vocabulary. He'd say it turned to shit or gave up the ghost. But cease? No. Is this the internet hive mind leaking through his journals or something else? You aren't talking to Dad. Was there something in his journals? Something he found beyond the mountains? Something the AI brought to life? I turn to another screen, open a search engine, and type Pastor Morton. The fan screams again. The cursor flashes faster. Now an alarm, demanding attention. But I rip my mind from them to see what the internet knows about Pastor Morton. Millions of responses come back, but none are fictional characters. They are all real people, none based in Cambridge. AI can stitch together information incorrectly, presenting fantasy as fact. AI experts call them hallucinations. But really, it is a lie presented as truth. I can't trust Dad's answers. But do I need answers? Or do I just need to ask the right questions? That need suffocates me, presses my nose to the cursor, demanding me to ask about the night march, about what's beyond the mountains. No. Those are not the questions I brought my dad back to life to answer. The fan shrieks, the darkness swallowing the sound into the endless silence beyond my monitors. Was the meeting worth missing Mom's death? Worth ruining our relationship? Dad thought and thought. Maybe the question was too subjective. Does Dad understand the weight of Mom's death? His relationship with me? The cost of all the years he missed, watching me grow up, getting married, having Nancy. After Cambridge, he never told me where he was going. He just disappeared for weeks, sometimes months. Uncle Louis helped me handle Mom's death, standing in for Dad when he should have stood with me. Your mom was dying. Medicine couldn't save her. The night march could help. But I couldn't sacrifice what they wanted for the answers I needed. So I searched for another way. Searched for the questions and answers. What the hell kind of answer is that? A mix of journal data and ghost story. Another damn hallucination. There's nothing I wouldn't have sacrificed for Mom. This is all crap. It can't be Dad's journals. What wouldn't he sacrifice for Mom? Nothing. She was everything to him. The fan screeches again. A siren song. My system straining for attention. To what? The night march. The mountains. The sacrifice. No more distractions. I ask what I need to ask. Were you proud of me? Did you regret abandoning me? Did you love your son? Dad thinks. The thoughts stretch into my relentlessly dark office, pulling me towards the white letters on my black monitor, holding me there, breathless, waiting for what I should have been told, what I should have heard time and time again. From my success at work, from having a house, a good life, a happy wife, a brilliant daughter. I need to hear it after all the long nights at work, all the sacrifices I made to be successful, to prove I did okay without his help, or him just giving a shit. My training data does not have an answer. Should I search on Lynn? I shut off the application before it was completed. The fan slows, choking like asthmatic laughter, then dying. In all that training, there was nothing about my life that made him proud. He grew up homeless, and here I am, successful by every measure. And that wasn't noteworthy. Not a single entry. Dad left when Mom died. Off doing whatever, forgetting he had a family right here. He had me. I was important. He couldn't see that. But wait. Maybe something's wrong in the data. Maybe I didn't prepare it properly, or I used the wrong algorithm. I could rerun it. Ask the questions again without the night march junk. I could get real answers this time. This isn't your dad. Let it go. Are there more questions about the night march? Something I need to find there? The fan whirs, its hot, dusty breath inviting me back. There are answers here. I just need Dad to think the right way. I can find answers in his journals. They have to be here. But first, I need to restart my computer. Wipe the slate clean. The screens go dark. I fall back into my chair, released from their dim glow, and land in my office. No more hum of the fans, just stillness. Quiet presses in. The bookshelves beyond my desk emerge from the dark. Out the window, Nancy sits by her telescope. It gazes into the stars, but she stares at the ground, shivering. Where was her jacket? While the computer restarts, I take her one. Kiddo, you need a jacket. I hand her the bulky coat. Should have brought mine. The night is frosty. My breath steams like a monster. I wipe it from my face. Thanks, she says. Why are you sitting here? Telescope's gotta adjust to the cold, Nancy says. It's freezing out. I nod as my monitor lights flick on. The restart is complete. My computer calls me back, this time to ask the right questions. It's probably ready now, Nancy says, defeat, not excitement, in her voice. It's cold out here, I say. Why don't you do this when it's warmer? Because it's the supermoon. I've been waiting all month for this. It's important. She didn't ask me to stay. She knew the answer. When did she stop asking? My computer was alive and waiting. The cursor light flashes in slow, steady breaths, watching me with Nancy. Quietly, the fan whirs, calling her name. The room beyond the monitors is a void waiting to absorb me. Us. Were the islands that dark? What did Dad see? He went beyond the mountains. Your grandpa was stationed on an island in the Atlantic Ocean. He probably had a good view of the stars. She shrugs. He said there were mountains on the islands. And one night, he saw something strange. The light on my monitor blinks slower, inviting me to tell my story and come back with Nancy. For both of us to ask our questions. The fan kept wheezing, chanting our names. Dad had answers for both of us if we ask the right questions. It wants her to ask, just like it wanted me to. What did he see? Nancy asks. I'm not exactly sure, I say, looking at the stars. I nod towards my office. The monitors dim, welcoming us to the screens. The AI on my computer, built from Grandpa's journals, has answers. We'll look at the stars for a bit. Then we'll talk to him. Together. Nancy nods, confused, but eager. She peers through her telescope at the infinite void of space while I glance toward my office. The darkness recedes from my desk, a slight retreat from the monitor light. Now, there's room for two, dreaming. The boy woke up, with a shudder, sweaty and scared. For the last few months, at least once a week, he had been having the exact same dream. A cabin, a light, no one else around. Why was this happening to him again? He turned on a small lamp beside his bed. "Mom!" he shouted at the open door, and waited. She was a patient woman, and knew that something like this was bound to repeat itself. She woke up from her light sleep, put on her slippers, and trudged down the hallway. Her perfume entered the room before she seemed to float inside. Another one, the boy, with some shame in his voice, admitted that it was. "It's the same thing. I see a cabin like the one from before, and there is a light in one of the windows, and that's all. Sorry. No, kid. You are having a bad nightmare. And that's all right." His mother sat on the bed, and he snuggled closer to you. "Do you remember the story I told you about nightmares? About your cabin?" "Yeah." He nodded, letting his tears seep into her robe. "I remember. But could you say it again?" She smiled as she looked down at her son. The moonlight was dim, but she could see how beautiful her stare was as she prepared to share the story he knew all so well. "Okay, so remember our last vacation? A long time ago." "Right. A very long time ago. We all went out on a very long vacation." "Camping?" "Yes." She put her legs up on the bed, hugging him and becoming wistful. "We were all going to go out into the woods to spend 2 weeks in the woods." In Daddy's cabin, the boy was now shivering. She held him close and looked down at him. "Yeah, but you know that part, right? We had the cabin all to ourselves, out in the middle of nowhere, just like here, very much so. But that was a special trip. Your father wanted us all to get out of the city and enjoy Mother Nature's gifts, as he said. He could not be stopped. Never wanted to take it too slow." Was she crying? He looked up at his mother. "I'm sorry." "No. Let's finish up the story. We went out into the woods in our car. All the food and gear was taken out. You helped me in the kitchen as I put things in shelves and let you check the stove and fridge. All the power was on, and nothing seemed out of place. And it was such a beautiful day. No mosquitoes." She laughed out loud at that memory. "You always hated them. Always. They were going to drain my legs if I let them." "Is that why you did not want to go out to the lake right away?" His mother remembered everything. Maybe he wanted to forget some parts more than others. It was just, Dad wanted to go out there right away. He said that we were losing light, whatever that meant. He really did not check out anything in the cabin, except to see that his keys worked. It was like he could not wait. She did not interrupt her son as he told this part. "You remembered everything. You are the one who should be telling the story, not this next part." "That's right." She took a deep breath and began to tell him the part that he did not like. "Okay, so I stayed inside and you and your dad went down to the lake. We took a boat. He wiped his face. We took a boat. We were out on the lake. Heard a loon cry from somewhere, but no sound. No mosquitoes, no noises. And we caught a bass. Dad said it was spotted. I did not ask him what that meant. Wish I had. Guess it means the way it looked. I saw it. And this is where the boy was always confused. This part of the story did not make any sense to him. How did you know? We were walking up to the house, the cabin. It was late now, dark. You left a light on in the window. But I was so tired, and Dad let me carry the fish until everything went so black that I could not. She passed a hand over his head, kissing him on top of his thick hair and smiling. And that is what you always remember. Nothing else? He always felt frustrated at this part. No, I don't. I don't even know where Dad went. The police said that he must have just disappeared. But the car was there, and he left his wallet, his keys. Everything was, and he broke down again. It was always at the same moment. He felt so tired. I think that you should get some sleep. Yeah, right. The boy felt as if his head was sinking right to the floor. Maybe the mosquitoes are draining me now. Ha ha. Now, get some sleep. She got up and looked down at the boy. Did you hear that? The boy's eyes popped open. Hear what? Nothing. He smiled. It would be a good night's sleep. See? Nothing. Now sleep. Right. Night. She paused for a moment at the door to see if he really was asleep. It was when she heard his breathing and saw him flop onto his stomach that she knew he was out. The lamp had gone out by itself, out for the night. This made her happy. So happy. Her face cracked in the dim hallway, spilling the liquid and gore that she kept concealed from the world under the caked makeup and skin that had aged so badly. A long swallowing sound came out through her throat, and she smiled as she walked slowly to her room. The stink of her body was easy to cover with the heavy robe soaked in perfumes she made. And the cabin was perfect for them. No, not this one. There was a reason why they ended up in her woods. They were the only ones there, and she had them. He is not going to leave. Not like so many others who found a way to leave and abandon her, just like her first husband, just like the boy that she lost. Too painful to think about. Right. She adjusted the teeth, tongue and jaw that were sliding out of place. It was a good thing that she put that mirror in the hallway, right next to the boys' room. But there was one final thought she had to share before leaving him. The gurgling in her bile-filled throat allowed one last thing to escape into the darkness. Sweet dreams, my child. I am the silence between heartbeats. I'm talking to you. Yes, you. Don't pretend you didn't notice. That creak that whispers you tried to dismiss as nothing. It wasn't. I've been watching, listening. You've felt it, haven't you? That cold shiver crawling down your spine when you thought you were alone, when you told yourself the darkness was empty. But it's not, and neither am I. You're not scared? Oh, you will be. Do you know what bones sound like when they break? It's not the quick snap you're thinking of. No, it's much worse than that. It starts with a groan, like a branch struggling under heavy snow. Then comes the splinter, slowly, jagged. Bones are splitting apart, and fibers are tearing like meat from the bone. Have you ever heard someone scream while their bones are being shattered inside them? No? That's the sound I made. Before I became this, it wasn't quick. No, the first bone that cracked, it was my hand. I remember feeling the skin tear and muscles snapping like twine stretched to the breaking point. Then, the grinding started. Oh, you don't know the horror of that sound. Teeth on glass, nerves ripped apart, a shriek of agony trapped in your skull. My ribs didn't just break. They crushed and caved in, one by one, under the weight of the water. Each crack echoed in my ears as the cold flooded my lungs. The air became water, and sweet oxygen traded for salty, thick brine, choking me. Can you imagine it? You will. Picture your fingers bending, folding backward with a sickening crack. One by one, each digit twists until bone bursts through the skin like shards of glass. The agony isn't clean. It crawls up your nerves, searing, pulsing, until your vision blurs, and all you see is blood. Red. So much red. And then, when the pain becomes too much to bear, it doesn't stop. It never stops. I can feel your heartbeat now picking up. Faster. You're sitting there, reading this, telling yourself it's just a story, but I'm closer than you think. Close enough to taste the fear dripping off you like sweat. I could drag my nails across your throat right now and feel your skin split under the pressure. Do you think you're safe? Look at your hands. Go on. Look, did you feel that? The prickling under your skin, that's me. I'm crawling inside you, testing you, tasting you. I want to see how much terror your body can handle before it snaps. And when it does, I'll be there to savor it. I'm with you now. Oh, I know you feel it. That crawling sensation under your skin, the burning pressure building in your chest. You're trying to ignore it and breathe steady. But your breath is shallow, right? Because I'm inside your fear. I live in the spaces between heartbeats, in the blood rushing through your veins. Soon, I'll live with you. When the lights flicker, the air grows thick with rot, and the cold wraps around your bones. You'll know I'm there. I'll make sure you do. Don't look around. Stay still. Listen. The creak. Like something crawling in the walls. It wasn't the house settling. I've been waiting for you to notice me, waiting for you to let me in. You can't see me, not yet, but you can feel me. That smell, like something festering, rotting in the walls. It's stronger now, isn't it? That's because I'm closer than ever. And tonight, I want you to feel me fully. I want you to know what absolute terror is. What does fear taste like to you? Metallic, like blood in your mouth, thick and coppery, seeping from your gums. I know that sour, acrid taste is on your tongue right now. You keep swallowing, trying to push it down, but it clings to the back of your throat, doesn't it? You know something is wrong. Something is terrible. Breathe deeply. Go on. Do you feel your lungs expanding, desperate for air? Picture them filling with water. Thick, cold, briny water crawls into your throat, clogging your airways and spilling down your chest until your lungs are swollen, heavy, and useless. You want to scream, but only bubbles rise, and they taste like salt and blood. You try to claw at your throat to free yourself from drowning, but your fingers break under the strain. Snap, crack. Your knuckles fold inward like brittle sticks. That was my death. And now, I want you to feel it. You're shaking now, aren't you? Your palms are slick with sweat, rubbing together to find warmth and friction. But there's none. There's only the cold, the deep, bone-deep cold, sinking in and gnawing at your flesh. That's me, wrapping around you, sliding under your skin. My hands, once warm, are now dead, frozen to the bone. If I touch you, I'll leave marks, black, festering bruises, and I already have. Do you feel it? The throbbing on your arm, like fingers pressing more profoundly and deeper until the skin splits? Don't look. It's already too late. Look in the mirror. Go on. See how your eyes have lost their light? How do they seem hollow, dark, and sunken? That's because I'm draining you, bit by bit. With every breath you take, and every second you spend reading this, I'm pulling you closer to me. Soon, when you look at your reflection, you won't be staring back. It will be me. Close your eyes. Hear that sound? The cracking, crawling, like insects gnawing through wood? That's what I feel inside you. Burrowing, eating through your nerves, tearing you apart from the inside, leaving nothing but rot and ruin. Do you think so? That burning in your chest, that pressure that's building, it's suffocating you, isn't it? That's what I want. Now imagine this. It's the middle of the night. You wake, but you can't move. Your limbs are frozen. You try to scream, but your voice is gone. You hear breathing, not yours. You can taste it on your lips, thick and sour, and then something touches your foot. Soft. A finger, it slides up your leg, leaving a trail of icy numbness that climbs higher. You can't move or scream. All you can do is feel it creeping up your skin, curling around your throat. That's how it started for me. I was awake. I felt it crawl into my lungs, deeper and deeper, until my breath was stolen. I thrashed, my nails splintering as I clawed at the walls, ripping the flesh from my fingers, blood pooling under my nails. But the dark was merciless. It wrapped around me, pulling me under and swallowing me whole. Do you feel it now? That tightness in your throat? Swallow. Does it feel harder? Like something's gripping your windpipe, slowly squeezing until all you can do is choke on the darkness. That's me. I'm inside you now. I'm watching you, watching your eyes flicker to the shadows, hoping nothing's there. But I am. I'm right behind you, inches away, staring at the back of your neck, so close I could reach out and dig my nails into your flesh. Feel the skin give way under the pressure. Feel the blood pulse beneath my grip. I could show you more. The way my fingers shattered as I clawed, desperate to escape. How my eyes bulged, veins throbbing, as the last breath was torn from my lungs. My flesh rotted and peeled away, leaving nothing but the cold, blackened bones beneath. You're not scared yet? You will be. Close your eyes. I'm going to show you what it feels like to die slowly, just like I did. Charles, he said he'd be here an hour ago. I decided to go to sleep because I have to get up early tomorrow. I told him that. I told him that I was going to Montreal to see my ex-boyfriend because we might be getting back together. We might be getting back together, even though my ex-boyfriend refuses to move back to the United States because he says we're a country built on the graves of the innocent, as if every country isn't like that. I told the guy I was talking to that I wanted to hook up before I left tomorrow, because if I end up back with my boyfriend, then it'll be a little bit like going into prison, because my ex-boyfriend insists on monogamy, even though he knows I don't believe in it. I don't cheat. So if we get back together, I'll be loyal to him, and I'll get bored pretty quickly. A hookup before then will be my last good meal before incarceration. I told him I was submissive, even though I'm feeling dominant tonight. I told him I like normal stuff, even though I know the word normal can be problematic. I told him my name is Charles. It's not. He's not entitled to know things about me. Whoever he is, and however the night was going to go, I was never going to see him again. I don't believe in friends with benefits. I believe a one-night stand should only last for one night. I believe it makes the experience hotter if you know it's going to be singular. I gave him my address. He told me he was a few miles away. I could see that he was telling the truth. He shared his location on the app. Yes, there he was, a few miles away. I told him I was looking forward to seeing him. I was. He looked handsome in his photos, a little older than the age on his profile. But people lie about that. People lie on the apps. I lied. I said my name is Charles. It's not. I'm not entitled to the truth any more than he is. He says he's 35. I don't think he is. It's okay. I don't need him to be 35. I just need him to look like his photos. He sent 4. In 3, he looks very handsome. In the 4th, I'm not sure. It's all a risk, a gamble. You roll the dice, you give out your address, you give access to a stranger. You're a man. Why would you be scared? Men are still men. Gay men are still men. Men don't need to be afraid. When have I ever really been afraid? He didn't show up in a few minutes. I know right away I'm being stood up. He's flaking on me. It happens. I send a message. The app tells me he sees it. He reads it, but he doesn't respond. I send a hello? I send a I send a dude, seriously? I debate sending a rant, a tirade. I debate lecturing him on wasting my time. I decide it's not worth it. His spot on the shared map doesn't move. I decided to go to sleep. I let a little negativity in. I tell myself he wouldn't have flaked if I was cuter. He would have showed up if I weighed 10 pounds less. He would have come if my hairline wasn't receding. It's my fault. I'm disgusting. That's why my ex broke up with me. Not because he moved to Montreal to work for a marketing company there. It was me. It was because he wanted to get away from me. I go to sleep without packing my suitcase like I had promised myself I would. Now, I'll have to do it quickly tomorrow. And I'll be rushing to the airport. And I'll be cursing myself the entire time. But I'll be blaming the guy from last night who never showed up and sent me down a shoddy path. I'm woken up by my phone vibrating. I've always been a light sleeper. My ex used to wake me up with his snoring. I mentioned it to him once, and he was embarrassed. Maybe that was why he decided to break up with me. Why would I complain about something like that? Who do I think I am? I look at my phone. I've only been asleep for 20 minutes. I check to see why the phone is buzzing. I'm hoping my ex has texted to say, "Looking forward to seeing you tomorrow, XOXO," but I don't have any new text messages. I should have known from the tone of the vibration. That was the app. I have a new message. It does occur to me that it might be the flaky guy from earlier. Maybe something came up and he wants to apologize. I look at the message. Yes, it's from him, but it's not an apology. It says, "Your name isn't Charles." I tell myself, he's a weirdo. He is. He is a weirdo. Who sends something like that? I don't question how he knows my name isn't Charles. He might have found me on social media. He might have talked to someone else on the app that knows my name isn't Charles. He might have gone to hook up with some other guy, and they got to talking about me. How I'm a liar. How my photos make it look like I weigh less, and my hairline isn't receding. He might have always known my name wasn't Charles. We might have talked prior to this, and I didn't know it, because I delete the app every other day, because I hate having it on my phone. I hate being on there. I hate all apps, even the ones that say they're for dating, even though they're really all for sex. He might have been playing with me this entire time, mocking me without me realizing it. Flaking was part of the game. I block him. I need to go back to sleep. A minute later, the phone vibrates. It's that same specific buzz. I look at the phone. Yes, I have a new message. I check. Your name isn't Charles. How did he message me? Does he have another profile? No, it's the same profile. I block him again, but this time, his profile doesn't even disappear. It must be a glitch in the app. Great. It's bad enough these apps have destroyed interpersonal connections, but now they don't even work properly, if they ever did. I delete the app from my phone. I'll re-download it if my ex doesn't want to get back together, but he will. And this time, we'll make it worth it, so I'll never have to download it again. I'm only going to think positive things moving forward. I'm going to do what my therapist tells me, and I'm going to drink water, and I'm not going to set my time on fire by being on apps. The phone vibrates. The app is back. How is it back? Apps have glitches, but they can't download themselves onto your phone once you take them off. That can't happen. Yes, a message. Your name isn't Charles, something else. I notice his distance has moved. He isn't 4 miles away anymore. Now he's 3 miles away. He's a mile closer than he was. Why? I look at the shared location. He stopped sharing. I can't see the dot anymore. Can he do that? I don't remember anyone being able to do that. But I don't remember any of this being possible. I blocked him. I shut him out. How is he still here? How is he still messaging me? My phone vibrates. Tell me your name. This isn't right. I get out of bed. I nearly trip over the 2 piles of clothing I left unfolded on the floor. What should I do? I think about contacting the police. But what are they going to do? I'm just some guy who was looking for no strings sex on an app after midnight. They won't take me seriously. And so what if the guy is coming here? I live in an apartment building. He can't get inside. The lobby door is locked. He doesn't know what floor I'm on. He doesn't know which door is mine. I delete the app again. I'm safe. There's no reason I shouldn't feel safe, but now I can't sleep. I decide maybe now is a good time to start packing. I'll make the most out of this anxiety. I'll pack my suitcase. I'll get things in order. I might even leave early for the airport. Why not? I've never been early for anything in my life. But why not start now? The whole point of the trip is to become a new person, a better person. I never should have gone on the app in the first place. I'm practically taken. I'm practically in a relationship. I should have just gone to bed. Another vibration. I look at the phone. Your name isn't Charles. Then, very quickly, tell me your name. I check the distance. I can't help myself. He's a mile away. How did he move so quickly? Have I lost my sense of time? What time is it? Why is he bothering to drive all this way? I explained to him when we first spoke that I live in an apartment. I told him that I would have to buzz him in. He must know I'm not going to do that now. He must know that even if someone else lets him into the building, he'll never figure out which floor I'm on and which apartment I'm in. And even if he did, I'm not going to open my door for him. He can't get to me. Why won't he just give up? And why is he badgering me about my name? Why does it matter? I wanted him to come over. I asked him to. He was the one who stood me up. He was the one who didn't show. Why is he angry with me? Because I lied? Because I lied about my name? Why does he care about my name? A vibration. Does Charles live in apt number 407? Or is that you? That can't be right. I never gave him my apartment number. I'd never be that stupid. I have a system for this. When I invite someone over, I check the lobby camera to make sure they look like their photo. Then I buzz them in. It's only when they've signed in with the security guard in the lobby that I let them upstairs. That's when I tell them which apartment is mine. I'm smart. I'm smart about this kind of thing. How does he know my apartment number? Does he know me? Is this a catfish? Has he been over here before? Is someone playing a joke on me? I call downstairs. The security guard answers the phone. I don't know his name. I think it might be Trevor, but I'm not sure. I don't interact much with the nighttime security guards. Hello? Excuse me? This is 407. I was wondering if you could do me a favor. If someone shows up. Sorry, the security guard says. What's your name? I nearly dropped the phone. Why? You said you're in number 407, but I need to know your name. I've lived here for 8 years. I'm sure you have, but I need to know your name. Can't you just look it up? I can't. I'm sorry. What's your name? Something occurs to me. Is it you? I'm sorry. Are you the one doing this? Is it you? I don't give him a chance to answer. I hang up. The phone vibrates. I check the message. Buzz me in. I want to boil the phone in water. I want to put it in the microwave. I want to dump it in the air fryer. But I need it for tomorrow. I need to let my ex know when my plane takes off and when it lands. I need to let him know that I'm getting an Uber when I get there, because he's going to be busy at work, so he can't pick me up. And that's fine. That's not a big deal. This is a big deal. Why is this? A new message. Never mind. I'm in. No. How can he be? I check the lobby cam. There's nothing there. It's black. The screen is black. Why do I pay for security if I can't see the lobby cam? Why do I pay for a security guard who just wants to ask my name over and over again? Why do I pay to keep people out if they can get in? I look at the distance. He's less than 100 feet away. I'm in the elevator. I think about responding to him. I think about telling him that he can't come in. I won't let him. I think about begging him to go home. I think about telling him that I'm going to call the police. I think about saying I'll kill him. I think about saying that I'll beat him to death with a baseball bat. I don't own a baseball bat, but he doesn't know that. Does he know that? What does he know? Just got off on the 4th floor. No, I consider pushing my couch in front of the door. But why? Can he break down a door? Is he that strong? He doesn't look strong in his photos. He looks lean and in shape, but not capable of breaking down a door. But is that him? Were those photos really him? Could this be an entirely different person? Should I scream? Will my neighbors hear me? Will they care? It's so late, and a knock. My mouth is dry. All the salivas turned to sweat and pooled in my armpits and down my backside and over my palms, while my feet are stone cold and my breath refuses to calibrate. I move towards the door. I don't sense anybody on the other side. Would I sense it? Could I trust myself to sense it? Earlier, I thought I had everything under control. I had lined up a nice fling before flying off to Montreal. I knew what the night was. I knew what the morning would look like. What do I know now? I lean my ear against the door. Will I hear breathing? Will I hear the shuffling of feet? The cracking of knuckles? I hear nothing. I wish I had a peephole. Why don't I have one? I don't have one, because by the time someone reaches your door, you're supposed to know who they are. You're supposed to know that they belong there. I hear nothing. I think about opening the door, the way someone who finds themselves trapped on a ledge might wish to simply fall and have it be done with. I think about opening the door and welcoming in whatever might be on the other side. I think about letting the vampire taste me. After all, he's already here. Instead, I do it. I close my eyes and I whisper something. My name, my real name. The phone vibrates, and then I hear the sound of someone walking away.